David Hewlett here with another Burn and Learn. Oh, you thought I forgot, didn't you? You thought I was done. You thought that's it. He's out. He's fallen off the wagon or on the wagon or whatever one does when one's not supposed to be on a wagon or off a wagon. No, I exercised today. I just couldn't do it this morning because too much to do. Too much to do. I had dogs to walk. I had friends to meet for coffee. I had friends to meet and help out with medical stuff. I had, and I came home, made myself a giant sandwich, and thought, okay, it's time. Let's get some burn and learning happening. So, how is everybody? Let me put on my reading glasses. Oh, I did some good learning today. Let me tell you. So, hello, Marcos, Narvez, and Noah again. Just had a cheesesteak. Oh, nice. I just dream of these things. God, I'm so hot. My glasses are fogging up. Okay, so this is my burn and learn. This is my bid to stay alive and fit long enough to enjoy my, golden years of my fabulous son and my brilliant, amazing, beautiful wife, Jane, and our menagerie of pets, that being Casper, the elusive gecko, and Azad, the annoying dog. So I hate exercise, so I like to learn something while I'm doing it. And today, mind blown. Actually, not so much mind blown as sort of, kind of creeped out by it, actually. So this is surveillance technology and how face recognition and all of these sort of, what they would call them OSINT, I guess it used to be called, like open source intelligence stuff, like how these systems are using social media and posts and location and Ring doorbells or whatever, or flock cameras and all these things to track people, and how the Department of Homeland Security, ICE, as we know, many tales of the ICE fiasco. It's not a fiasco; it's revolting. So they are using these technologies now, all these technologies that we were all so like shocked and offended about when they first came out. And oh my gosh, you can't never do that. And oh, Google could never do that. And Facebook could never do that. And well, now companies are doing it because they've been asked to, basically. And they're also being asked to remove apps from the iPhone store, from the iStore, and Apple's removed them because they, in a quite lawful way, it is absolutely lawful for us American citizens to post about where law enforcement is, and otherwise you wouldn't have that on your Waze app, would you? So that got shut down because they felt their excuse was that it was endangering ICE agents, so just some pretty amazingly authoritarianism, controlling government rules and pressure basically on companies. And so just how they were using notoriously inaccurate facial recognition to start. I don't know what they're like now, but they were certainly not good to start. There was a huge bias against recognizing people of color, and just that these technologies might be used now to, and in fact, in some cases are being used instead of paper documentation. So you show a birth certificate and they go, nah, app says you're not supposed to be here, so off you go. So some pretty crazy stuff. These companies just bend the knee. Yeah, I mean, that's the problem. I mean, that's it. It's almost 12 p.m. I was going to sleep. Sleep is delayed. No regrets. Oh, I'm very sorry, Ivan. Private tech corporation, love to give you private data to the U.S. government. You were back in Canada. The ESA stream from some weeks ago, was that in Cologne here in Germany? No, it was actually in the Netherlands. It was in Leiden, out there, and it was just amazing. But I would very much like to go to Cologne and Germany. I need to go back to Germany. In fact, one of the things on my list of things to do is to get in touch with some German conventions, particularly FedCon. If anyone knows anyone at FedCon, let me know, because I'd love to go. I'd love to go back there. I haven't been for years, and I'd love to do a let's talk. Let's do a I'm with Stargate Genius talk there, and bring some scientists back in and have some fun chats and roundtable-y things there. So I just think it'd be kind of fun to do. I want to start doing it at more conventions, because I like the idea of like, let's, it's all very good and well to talk about all the old science fiction stuff, and I'm happy to do that, obviously. But let's bring some new stuff in here. Let's get some new technology and talk about some space stuff and get some real science in there. Because a lot of people who come up to me and say like, oh, I watched your show when I was a little kid, and now I'm working at ESA, or I'm working the space race right now, or I'm doing astrophysics and stuff, and it's just amazing. So let's see if we can make that happen a bit more. I just love this sort of idea, and for me, of course, it's just more of my lifelong learning adventure stuff. So I get to learn stuff as I go, which I love. Yeah. So anyway, so this was another podcast talking about these various different technologies that are being used and just how insidious this stuff is. So I think it was there was a facial recognition company that had basically just scraped faces off the internet. The Facebooks and everything they could possibly get its hands on, and then they used that to track people and find out where they are. The other problem was, of course, when ICE didn't have access to this stuff themselves, they would approach law enforcement, and law enforcement would have access to some of these things. And so basically, they were looking through spreadsheets of use cases for these things, and a lot of them were saying ICE or immigration protest, that kind of stuff. So just some pretty scary stuff there. I mean, again, it does seem pretty terrifying now. I mean, the problem again that I keep seeing over and over again is, these things, it's incremental, right? These incremental changes that in our perception of technology and how we use technology and our acceptance of technology. I mean, we've basically accepted a privacy, a privacy-free world now, right? I mean, we live in a post-privacy society, and I'm not sure any or all of us are prepared for that. I mean, I'll be honest, I'm not so worried. I feel like, look at me, I'm willingly posting. This is my reward for doing 30 minutes of exercise. 30 minutes on that freaking this thing. I always get the name wrong. I don't know. What's it called? It's something ERG, maybe? Is that right? Rowing? No, I can't remember. So I do 30 minutes of that, and then I get to chat with you. But that's giving up. I'm sure, location information, and obviously Google knows everything there is to know about me, and any of the other streaming platforms, I'm sure, as well. So it's just so I sort of don't really worry about it. We also have a really big dog that's not going to put up with anyone showing up. That helps as well. So there's definitely that aspect of it where I feel like I like the conveniences that are afforded me by being a person on television and films and stuff, and also just for having access to technologies that allow me to do things because it demand my location or privacy issue stuff as well. So I mean, probably a mistake, and maybe I'll regret it later, but I feel like that's where I am right now. Although I will admit, I saw a video the other day on installing the Graphene OS, which is basically an open source version of Android. So you wipe your phone. I've got a Pixel here. So I would wipe my Pixel and I would install the Graphene OS, and then I'd have a nightmare trying to do everything that I want to do on it because it's so worried about giving away any kind of privacy or connection from apps and such. So maybe at some point I'll get to a point where I'm willing to go that far for my privacy, but right now the convenience of this stuff is just too great for me. And the advantages of being able to do this, like this, even just a few years ago, this would have required a PC and a dedicated and an Ethernet connection, and and even now I get it wrong all the time. Anyways, how's the sound, by the way? I think I got the sound sorted out this time. I turned off Bluetooth, so I'm not talking through a pair of speakers that are still hanging on the rowing machine over there. Yeah, so some really interesting stuff that came up. And the other thing that I got to talk about today, because I watched it last night. So my wife and I sat down to watch a movie last night. We went to watch another episode. We've been watching the Down Cemetery Lane, or whatever it's called. It's like, I wasn't sure at first, but I'm kind of enjoying it now. It's a silly, weird little Apple series. Now that we finished all of Slow Horses, which is just brilliant. Absolutely loved it. We sat down to watch a movie. Hello, worst of all of the pet menagerie. I don't know if you remember this beast. This is the Huzzah. Hey, wait, what are you doing? You come up here. That's it? Now I get your butt? Oh my God. Worst dog ever. Worst dog ever. Now she's on Baz's bed. Anyways, so we watched this movie last night called House of Dynamite. And I would recommend it to everyone. It's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. And it's the first time I've seen a, nuclear threat based film in decades. I mean, absolutely decades. I mean, back when I was growing up, they seemed to be every 10th film was one about some kind of nuclear annihilation. I mean, the one that really stuck with me, I remember, was the When the Wind Blows, beautiful little animated film that was, well, beautiful. It was also horrendous at the same time, basically about this little old couple after a nuclear strike of some sort, or an accident, I can't remember. But and of course, it had that wonderful David Bowie song that Where the Wind Blows. So yeah, it was. Oh, I missed all the chat because I go, oh, what was that? What the heck? Who's throwing money at me? Oh dear, that was ages ago. I hope I haven't missed you. Mazda MX-30, Mazda, can you do a Mrs. Doubtfire impersonation? Yeah, dance monkey dance, right, Mazda? Thank you so much for the money. That's very, very kind of you. Mrs. Doubtfire, no, not really a big Mrs. Doubtfire. Although I will say, I get the Robin Williams. You look like Robin Williams thing all the time. Oh my God, When the Wind Blows, heartbreaking, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. TARDIS and Timbits. What is it called again? It's called, is it When the Wind Blows or Where the Wind Blows? Yeah, if you look it up, you'll find it. It's absolutely startling. But this is done by Catherine Bigelow. She did The Hurt Locker. She did Zero Dark 40. She's really the best director at these military industrial complex type films. And this one just raises it a whole other bar. It's absolutely impeccably directed, extraordinarily well written, and the acting is just amazing, absolutely amazing. I mean, there's not a bad performance in it. In fact, there's not a heartbreakingly amazing performance in it. But it's just a fascinating film. And Jane and I sat down, we had a glass of wine, and we had our little Halloween chocolates. Well, by the end of it, we demolished the entire chocolates, the entire bottle of wine, and we're just like, oh my God! Like, it was just an amazing film experience, and it's on Netflix if you got that, so you should definitely go see that. It's the same animations as The Snowman and The Father Christmas. Yeah, just beautifully done. And Quentin Tarantino. It's funny. I'll tell you a story about being in LA. My early days, and I was just coming out of a restaurant, and the guy said, "Hey, I love your movies," and I was like, "Wow, I'm in LA and people are recognizing me." Then he went, "Oh no, he goes, "You're not Tarantino." And then like all of a sudden it's like my fault, like I'm the one who's pretending to be Tarantino or something. So that was my first introduction to fame in Hollywood. And then, then after that, it was like, you did a show with that blonde lady, and I immediately went, "Oh, you mean SG1?" Because of course everyone loves our Sam Carter. So that was the next time it happened. And then, Anyways, chocolates and wine, yum. Oh, isn't really good. Yeah, yep. David Hewlett looks quite like Quentin Tarantino, but honestly, David is more entertaining than QT. Really? Wow. Okay, I'll take that for sure. I'm trying to think what other elements there were of the learn part of my Burn and Learn. So the facial recognition, it was this kind of OSINT stuff where they're basically trying to get all of the information that we put out there, all of the data we generate, whether that's from Fitbits, smart watches, or whatever, and compile that into some kind of a database that can be used to track people. And of course, who are those people being tracked right now? But these immigration issues. So immigrants or people who they feel are not here in the way that they would like them to be, shall we say? Of course, I just feel like it's a slippery slope to get into. Now you don't like this, or you said something bad about this, and again, the concern with that is not even that there will be legislative action or that the government will directly come after you, but what happens when it's like he's saying bad things about ICE or whatever. Google, you better take him off YouTube or whatever. And if they mention anything like that, then it should be gone type thing. So it's definitely a weird setup. I'm living in Canada now, by the way, not because of this. We moved up here over 10 years ago now, because we came to do a film, and my parents are here, and the neighborhood we were in had this amazing school, and Baz loved it and had friends, and we thought, this is crazy. We should, he's got such this, it just makes more sense to be up here. We thought we'd be up here for maybe 5 years. And Toronto is an amazing city to raise a kid. I will say this though, and then get out. You know what I mean? Because I love Toronto very, very much, but there are just so many places around the world to go. And I really hope that my son, who has come on many a travel with us, and seems to really like seeing new places and stuff. But I always worry about coming back to the city you grew up in. It feels a bit like, retiring or something. But anyways, point being is we've got to decide where we're going to live next. But, I worry about, politics definitely comes into play on a lot of this stuff. Like, right now we're not really thinking, oh, let's rush back to the States. And even England has a lot of issues as well, as does Canada. But right now it just seems to make more sense for us to be here. Again, here's what's funny about the school. I have real problems with the educational system here, massive problems. It's certainly the government-run education system here feels like it's wanting a lot, and I'm really, really worried. I had an amazing chat, by the way, with Sophie yesterday about what she's working on with education at ESA. We'll have a chat with her on I'm with Stargate Genius again soon. But amazing woman, you're gonna love what she's doing. A lot of 3D printing stuff and education, and we were discussing how this terrible feeling of watching kids go into school so enthusiastic, so curious about everything, and within 3 or 4 years, learning is a bad word, and I know. And that's not entirely the school's fault. I think there's a bit of a stigma to being like, oh, you're a nerd school person who does all their homework and stuff. I know that was certainly part of it for me growing up, but I just really worry that even, I was terrible at school, but I was still learning stuff all the time. Not always the stuff I was supposed to be learning. And, I was much better at reading the additional stuff than I was the stuff I was supposed to read in the first place. I don't know what it is. It's some kind of perverse anti-authority thing that I've got. I would love to bring Stargate back. I would love that. But yeah, it's not me, not up to me. Australia is not any better. Well, here's the thing, Chuck, and thank you for commenting, is I feel like wherever you are, you're the ones facing those issues, right? And this is part of the problem with education as well, is like, when your kid's in grade 1, you're worried about the grade 1 education. When they're in grade 2, you're worried about the grade 2, but you've forgotten about the grade 1. So there's a tendency to just sort of, and it was one of the reasons why I wanted to do Tech Bandits originally. Oh God, that reminds me, I've got to get in touch with them again. The community center actually was very sweet. They got in touch and said, look, hey, are you around? Can we do some Tech Bandit stuff? So I feel awful because I haven't been in touch, but I've just been a little busy of late. It's quite nice. All this busy. And plus, Agne's been keeping me wonderfully busy with these chats and the science chats and stuff. I've yet to post it, but I've got a really lovely chat with Eric Kulkers, which you should listen to. I'll get that on Spotify, hopefully tonight, actually. Actually, Jane's out tonight, so I guess, lonely David eating leftovers and doing his homework. That's what I'll be doing. We are going to see what the high school has to offer. My kid's in grade 8, so many electives. It's beautiful. Oh, that's great. That's great. And that's it. Here's the problem, though, is like, I don't know how you get, there's some kids, yes, who just thrive in that environment. I was not one. I think Baz was to some extent. He wasn't really thriving in the educational side of it so much as he was in the social side of it. Like, and I know that sounds silly, but he made friends. He had good friends. He got good grades or good enough grades. He had a good, strong collection of really wonderful kids as his friends, and he still has them. And I remember worrying about the education stuff and talking to my dad, and my dad said, never underestimate. If your kid is happy at a school, it almost doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Like what the education is. Would you rather he was miserable and getting a good education, getting an amazing education, or that he's happy and getting an education? And I kind of agree with him now. Looking back, I feel like Baz found his way and found the stuff he was into. It turns out it was nothing that I was interested in. The sports stuff is something that I never had any interest in. But even that, now that he's into it, I find myself looking into it, and there's all sorts of science and tech stuff involved in the sports industry that I'm excited about. So again, I think it's a state of mind. I think it's just this once you realize you know nothing, it's wonderful, because you can just, then every day is you're learning something new. So, and that's sort of the way I approach stuff. I always did my best to, pretend to know everything, because I didn't want to look like an idiot. And now I realize you look more like an idiot when you're doing that than if you're saying like, what's this and what's that. People love talking about what they do, and I love hearing it. So anyway, it's been amazing. And just Stargate's what's allowed me to do that, basically. What have we got here? God, this stuff was whizzing by. Kids can find more education outside of school. Again, this is it. We've got the collective knowledge of the human race available to humankind on the internet. All we have to do is get kids excited about it enough to explore themselves. I know that the internet's full of cesspools as well, but the reality is, if when I talk to these science fair students, everyone was inspired by some video they saw, whether it was on YouTube or TikTok or Instagram or whatever. I don't think actually TikTok existed when I was talking to them, but and then they would follow up by just emailing whoever it was who was doing the chat or the video that they'd made that inspired them, and that's how they became basically experts in that subject. And I think there's absolutely a need to get a basis of education. I totally understand that. You got to get the basics down. But I worry that if those basics are going to kill the curiosity and the inspiration to learn, I think we need to rethink that, because there's got to be better ways of doing it. I'm also worried that people seem to try to avoid putting kids through the frustration and of getting things wrong, and they don't want things to be hard for kids. They want it to be as easy as possible. The reality is, learning is hard. That's the whole point, is you sort of bang your head against a topic until it makes sense. And that's where that sense of accomplishment, that sense of learning comes from. So I think there's a lot of stuff we need to deal with. And again, this isn't just an educational system thing. I think this is also just our perspective and our government's perspective on this stuff as well. So one part of the problem with school has something to do with the fact that the ones who really, the problem with school has something to do with the fact that the ones who really, I guess, like to participate in school, they're called Strebber nerd, and one was beaten up, and then going to school gets painful. Yeah, that's the Captain Copycat. I was a lot as a kid as well. I mean, that's better now, though. I will say this: I think there are better mechanisms for that. Like, you can report that to the school and have not always satisfactory results, but at least there are, they at least speak to the idea that they want to get rid of there's a zero bully tolerance thing. We had issues too. I mean, Baz, there was a couple of kids who over time had caused issues, and I definitely found myself frustrated by the lack of response from the school on stuff. But my dad is a very smart guy, Chris. Yeah, my dad is a very smart and lovely man. He really is. I'm not sure how wise I am. The legend McKay. Oh, I like that, Wax. Sorry, how is the far east of Canada, at least further east than Saskatchewan? Oh, well, I mean, we're quite liking it. Apparently, we've got allegedly this snow coming this weekend, which I am not looking forward to at all, I've got to say. Oh my God, I look like the boss from Dilbert. If they ever make a show of that, I guess I'm playing the boss of Dilbert. Anyways, so yeah, weather here is supposed to be some snow this weekend, which I'm just kind of dreading, I got to say. Is he going to school for sports business? I have my bachelor's in that and master's in sports leadership. Oh, wow, Darth Perrin, that's amazing. Yeah, he's doing sports management, I think it's basically sports business, but sports management, I think, is the thing. It's the specifics of his course. Kids need to learn how to learn. That's a huge step in the right direction. Usually helps with the enthusiasm as well. And that's it. I mean, yeah, I think also enthusiasm is infectious. If you are excited about something, I mean, if I see someone excited about stuff, I'm there. I think it makes a huge, it's a huge magnet for curiosity. I think it doesn't always work. And then this is the other thing is I think every teacher, and I apply this to myself to some extent as well. wants to be, the teacher in Good Will Hunting or something. You know what I mean? Everyone wants to be that magical teacher. And the reality is it's not always that glamorous, right? I mean, it's trying to figure out ways to make things work for the kids learning, not just to be the most popular teacher. You know what I mean? I think there's a number of teachers that I saw, just in the nature of the different teachers that I saw throughout Baz's history and my history at school, was that there were teachers who wanted to be liked. There were teachers who wanted to be obeyed. There were teachers who were just, weird or sadistic. And then there were teachers who were dreamers and I think, other than the sadistic ones, I would say there's sort of a place for each element of that in learning. Did I get that all? Did I include anything I shouldn't have there? I just think that there's, I think it's fine to get along with the teacher, but I think there also does need to be a respect there. There needs to be a certain amount of, maybe not discipline, but certainly some authority behind the stuff. But yeah, I think it's got to be very difficult to be, wildly enthusiastic and curious and energetic every day if you're facing, a 30, 35, 40, 50 kids in a class. I totally understand that is not something you could, I'm sure, maintain. I am very lucky. I get to basically swan in, do some fun sciencey crap, and then leave again. And I don't care whether they misbehave or not, or whether they listen or not, or it's no big deal to me. I mean, I personally don't like it when I feel like I've lost a kid. But they're not interested in some way. But I've just got to the point now where it's just like even like Halloween. There were a couple of kids who asked about how the Raspberry Pi worked, to make the eyes work on this Raspberry Pi thing and on my robot. And just being able to talk to them about it and see them going like, okay, I could see them going like, okay, I gotta get those parts. You could just see them going like, oh, I didn't know that existed. Now I do. Now I want to make it. You know what I mean? And that's the stuff that for every 50 kids that couldn't care less and would rather be at McDonald's or doing whatever else they'd rather be doing, video games or whatever. There's, just the odd one now and again who you think you've got through to is just an amazing feeling. And that does remind me, I must get back to the community center folks, because they're amazing what they're doing too. Okay. What do we got? For me, it was Back to the Future and the kind of started my fascination with science. That's amazing. I've heard some great ones. There's a great one coming up. I'm not going to ruin it because she's got a great story about how she got into material sciences, and I don't want to ruin it. There's some. Oh man, you got some great. Let's talk. Why do I keep saying that? I've got some. I guess it's because they're chats. I've got a number of these. I'm with Stargate Genius chats coming up, and they're just. I can't wait for you to hear them. What are your thoughts on Sora 2 and filmmaking? Oh, wax. That's a good one. Look, I'm a tech optimist. Always have been. I think it's amazing. I generally don't consider the negative side of these things. I will eventually. Maybe I'm just not smart enough to come up with in the first place. But I definitely see where there could be problems. And AI is definitely something. AI is definitely a disruptive force that is going to, I think, have a huge impact if it's, well, because I'm it is already having a huge impact on society. I think there's always been crappy entertainment. There's always been stupid, insipid songs and bad cartoons and bad sci-fi and murder mysteries and reality shows. And, there's always been what they would call slop, I suppose. I don't really like the term, but let's go with that for the time being because I can't think of anything else. But slop. We have made the most horrific television or film or internet nonsense that does not contribute anything as an art form, as a science, as a communication means. I mean, there is just stuff out there that is just, the mind rot. And I think that, and I've been in a lot of it, by the way. I've been in some terrible, terrible movies and television that, frankly, are not adding anything to anyone's life, I'm sure. So I know I'm being rather hypocritical here, but and that will come back to bite me. I'll get to that in a second. But so basically, that stuff I feel might as well be written, directed, and created with these models. I think AI might as well make those, because it's the same old crap. It's just going to be a lot cheaper and they can make a lot more of it. I don't love that, but at the same time I go like, but that's, if that is how they're using the tool, then fantastic. In the same way that, I'm sure people were like, oh, but classically made, custom made suits are so much better than off the rack stuff. I mean, you could fight to say, like, I would never wear a non-custom suit, but the reality is there are cheaper ways of getting suits out there, and if there's cheaper ways of getting entertainment to people, then they're going to obviously get adopted. Now, having said that, I think, and this is my own theory on it, I don't know what I base this on, just from what I've seen in the past with people, and I've used this analogy before, where we talked about the world of new wave music and that's 80s pop synth stuff that I loved, where they were basically saying, well, this is the death of orchestras, this is the death of drummers, and it's specifically drummers, because I was a drummer. Why would you have a drummer when you have an electronic drum kit? So the point being is that now, however, 45 years later, we still have drummers, we still have orchestras. I still go and see them myself. So the fact of the matter is, we do want to see a human doing this stuff. And I think even for some of the slop, we're going to want to see humans doing stuff. You're going to want to see, the guy from McKay making an idiot of himself fighting dinosaurs or whatever, or ice monsters or whatever the heck they are. My concern is that potentially those can be done by AI now. So what is to stop, someone coming up with a Hewlett-like character? I mean, I'm sure they could do better than that, but a Hewlett-like character that they could then put in their show, and they've got a generically funny, awkward, annoying guy based on every character I've ever done. That is definitely a concern. At the same time, I don't know what else. I don't know what I could do about it, though. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like there's anything to fight there particularly, other than I think it's going to be even more important to have a community of humans, have a place where you can communicate like this, and also to be able to do the work you want to do. I mean, I think it doesn't matter how good an AI performance gets; it's still an AI performance. I mean, I like to go and see plays every so often. I like to go and see live music every so often. Not much, to be fair, but sometimes I do. And I think there will always be a market and a draw for the organic side of this stuff. So while I think there's going to be a lot of AI slop, and I'm very, very worried about what's going to happen to the internet, because I don't know what is the point of writing, unique things that are just going to get sucked up by a machine and spat out again without you. That is worrying to me for sure. So I guess maybe we'll go back to, painting on canvases, and maybe I'll start doing more plays or do live chats like this, or even in person. I don't know. But I feel a bit, maybe it's a bit defeatist, but I feel like this is the way technology works. I mean, chemical processed film cameras no longer exist except for art projects, but there are still art projects that do it. Theater should be dead because television showed up, and television should be dead because the internet showed up, and yet there's still, it's still there. I do think there will be, and I think there is, in fact, more of a focus on on having, the physical thing, having a memory of going to see someone and be able to say, like, I saw that guy in a play 20 years ago and he was just as bad an actor then, but he had more hair. So those are things that no AI is going to provide for you. And I think this is why people are into collectibles as well. People want something. They want the atoms, the atoms that are only in that form of whether it's a collectible card, whether it's a Pokemon or a sports card or a Stargate memorabilia stuff. I mean, any of that stuff, Star Trek. I mean, that stuff, people thrive on that because I think they crave that uniqueness, something unique and something that not everyone else has. And I think that AI will. When it's used properly like a tool, I think it's going to help filmmakers make films cheaper and faster and potentially more effectively, and hopefully that'll allow them to spend more time making them better. You know, I mean, like a really, really good filmmaker. You know, you put my friend Vincenzo, who did Cube and Splice and all that kind of stuff. You give him AI technology, and I guarantee you, he's not making slop. You know, he's going to make something that it will speak to him. It will be something. Again, I'm not saying that he's doing that. I don't know what he's doing in that regard. But you know, I sort of welcome it. I feel like, and again, I know that that's in a way going to be a problem for me as well, because there's a very good chance it's already happening to some extent where there's less work. You know, there's less work because what are people doing? People listen to this, you know, like, look at this. So what are we, we're 35 minutes in, 106 people, holy crap, 104 people. I just dropped 2 by talking about all this crap. But, you know, who'd have thought, I would never have thought 20 years ago that anyone would give any interest to a tired old sweaty actor who's complaining about exercise and pontificating about the world, that would be of any appeal to anyone at all. And yet, here's the thing. It's obviously of some use to you, and you obviously enjoy it to some extent. I love it. If this is for me, this is not, I mean, I'd love to say it's for you, it's for the people, you know. It's not. It's entirely for me. This is for my enjoyment. It just happens to be a wonderful venue for me and a way for me to, you know, get my thoughts out, which I'm just not doing any other way right now other than just talking to friends and family and stuff. God knows they're bored of me. So, and as I say, this is my reward for the exercise that I should be doing. So, if you can check them out, subscribe to my channel, Tanner's Jams. I would really appreciate it. Okay, Adam, I'll have a look. Restreaming is great. Is there such a novel? Awesome. What's the novel? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'd probably be amazing, but probably is the most lazily. I mean, look, here's the thing about the thing that I worry about with the AI is I don't want to lose our ability of critical thinking. I don't, and I think that again, I've fallen for that as well, where I feel like I read something and assume that it's real. I don't anymore, but there was for a period there, I was basically just trusting in whatever news source I had, and even those are fallible as well. I mean, or even worse, potentially biased, or don't want you to know certain stuff. Again, I don't want to get into sort of conspiracy theory stuff, but you know, there's always been bias in media, always. And I think that the algorithms that run the internet and the social media stuff are going to help you find the stuff that you. Thank you, Sky. Oh my God. Dave, Ivan says, my father too has a rowing machine, but he is not using it anymore. Can you encourage him a little bit? His name is Alexi. Read as you see fit and ought to bring him back to exercise. Well, I'll tell you, the biggest thing for me, Alexi, is it helps my mood. You know, I hate it. Just to be very clear, I absolutely hate it when I'm doing it, but kind of like writing, once it's done, there's your reward. And if you can tie it to something like this, I mean, maybe for you, your idea of fun may not be a sweaty podcast like this, but if you can tie it to something fun, like put on your favorite show and do some rowing while that's on, you'd be amazed how fast the time goes and just how much better you feel because of it. So Alexi, get out there. I want to hear about some, you know, like a 30-minute episode of Rick and Morty while you're doing your rowing or something. Thank you for passing that along, Scott. That's much appreciated. Okay. Conscious people may rise while those who just drift along with it will become dumbed down. Yeah, I think so. I mean, kids not being able to read analog clocks, for example. But here's the thing. I would say that we do fixate on these things. We definitely do fixate on these things. You know, I worry less about kids not being able to write because when do they write? You know, I mean, yes, they should be able to, obviously, and in an ideal world, they'd be able to do all those things. But you know, I mean, potentially, do a little sci-fi, a little speculative science future stuff here. What if in the future you don't have to read because everything is read to you? Or what if it's automatically, you know, we got some neural implant in the back of our head that just gives it to us as noise that our brain understands as words. I mean, you can't really. I think, well, there is going to be a negative side to that stuff as well. And my biggest concern is just the haves and the have-nots, right? I mean, the people who can't afford the technology won't be able to have won't get the education that they need, and that's a concern. But I think that's a concern in general. I mean, I feel like, I was quite excited about the New York mayoral election, because I'm like, wow, it's kind of fun that someone can get up there and say, like, let's do socialist stuff and use the government to help people out for a change, and he gets voted in. So that's kind of fun to me. Sort of the way I think it should be to some extent. But I understand with everything, there's cause and effect. I mean, if you make a change to something, there's okay. Is the concern now that business won't be it's not as welcoming to business in New York? Is that right? Well, maybe, I don't know. I mean, but I just think that we're in a situation where I feel like we could really be doing more to help everybody rather than just a few. And I include myself in that too. I'm incredibly privileged. I'm incredibly lucky. I got a nice big house. I got a wonderful kid. I've got a house that's so big, I got extra nieces living here. You know what I mean? Like, so I am very lucky and very privileged. And I know a lot of that is because of where I was born and the color of my skin when I was born there. So, I'm not, that's not a pity thing. That's like I just think that is a reality. I mean, of the society we live in. And I would love it not to be that way. Would love it to be, the Department of Government Empathy as opposed to just efficiency, if that makes sense. I would ban AI from everything else other than research. Worldwide IQ is going to take a nosedive. See, I would respectfully disagree with you on that one, Nightman, because I partially because I just don't know how you do that. Like, how do you ban AI? Like, I mean, AI is in autocorrect. AI is in, is being used in data processing. It's being used in all sorts of things right now, to great effect. I mean, in a good way. I don't think we want to just ban it. I mean, I think, some of my kids, Baz's university courses, they allow the use of ChatGPT or whatever it is, or Perplexity, or I think they use Perplexity. And the agreement is that they have to submit their prompts as well as the responses, and they have to walk the teacher or the professor through their thought process and stuff. And that's just using a tool in a better way. I mean, I remember being in high school and going like, well, why are we only doing these chapters in science? And that was because those are the ones that were mandated by the government. The government mandated that at the end of the day, they needed to check a box that said you knew this, this, and this. And I was like, but what about all this great electronic stuff? Well, not everyone needs to know electronics, but they need to know the basics of this, this, this. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's going to be, Plato was complaining about books because books were going to kill the imagination as well. I share your concern, and I am nervous about it. And there's a very good chance I'm going to be all completely wrong about this. You should read the book that Elizabeth with a Z gave me to read, called The AI Con. You might quite like that. I mean, it will speak to your paranoia about this stuff, but it's got some interesting stuff. The best one, though, I will say, the one that really spoke to me was what was it called? The Surveillance Capitalism. It's a book called Surveillance Capitalism. It's a bit of a mouthful. And I think I was actually listening to it while I was doing one of my mad Burn and Learn sessions as well. So you might want to look back and see where I mentioned that. In fact, you know what I should do is I should use AI to go through and transcribe this stuff for me, and I can pull out I can make some notes. It's just that stuff. I mean, for me, I go, okay, there's stuff, yes, that I should do, that mom, and that maybe not me specifically, but maybe a student should be doing instead of letting AI do it for them. I'm quite conscious of that, to be honest, just because I feel like I need it already. I don't feel like I need any help with that. So I try to use it as a tool and not as I try to write something and then have it help me rather than have it write a basic, beat sheet for stuff. And then I can sort of pick and choose what I want out of that. But ideas are not usually a problem for me. It's the getting them into the proper format and having the focus to see things through. I found it very, very useful for summarizing stuff. And also, here's the thing. I used to just read the abstract of science papers because that's all I basically understood. And I will put the paper into my model, my AI model, and have it explain stuff to me, and I can question it about other stuff. So what that's doing is that is not reducing my thought process. That is allowing me a lot more time and a lot deeper look into these papers that I would not have been able to do otherwise. So I would normally just read the abstract. Now I read the abstract and I get this back and forth where I can really drill down and figure out what I understand, what I don't understand, and try to help it clarify me with that stuff, or at least point me in the direction of places and people who might be able to help. So that is an add-on. That is an efficiency that is going to that does increase my productivity and does increase my understanding of things. So I think it can be used very, very well that way. What I worry about is when it comes down to dumping a book in and then writing your essay for you. That is a problem. But that's not just a problem with AI, it's also a problem with education, where I feel like if it is very easy to replicate those answers, then and a machine can do it, then a machine will do it. So let's come up with unique ways of doing that. Like, do Romeo and Juliet. If you want an analysis of Romeo and Juliet, my God, every AI on the planet can probably spit out a reasonably bad essay on that. So you change your curriculum to be, okay, if you're if you were this character, if you were Hamlet, and your mother and father were the mother and father, and your family, you find family references there. How, what influences would you have on the storyline, or what differences would happen in the storyline, or again, try to make it a personal thing, something that will connect to the kid that you're talking to, and force them to do something that only they can do, not an AI. But again, with an AI, I feel like a bit like reading a Kindle. I read Kindle books all the time. I'm reading right now. I'm reading what is it called? Salem's Lot, because it's a book that I kept meaning to read, and I think I've even read part of it before. But I just wanted a nice, scary book to read, and that's a good one. So I'm reading that, and he uses words that I don't know. I sort of know what they are, but I don't know the specific definition, and I hate sort of going over a word and not knowing what it means. So Kindle allows me to tap it, and I know what the word means. It gives me a definition. If I was reading that in a regular book, I would just keep reading. I'd be like, there was a time when maybe I might be, if I was irked enough about it, I'd have a dictionary there. But what a waste of time now. Like, what a waste of time to have a book there to look up something else from another book. That is time that you can spend reading. I now have there's a little dictionary thing that pops up when I'm reading a book. Given a preference now, I don't like reading paper books because I can't look up and go deeper and dig into stuff in the way that I can with the electronic version. So again, I miss books? Yes, I miss books. And look, behind me is, Baz's collection of manga. You know what I mean? Like, I do like the physical books very, very much. And do I miss them, and do I want them to go away? No, but I also feel like we have to also accept that there are advancements that are going to happen that are going to take away things that perhaps have a built-in familiarity and comfort for us. That doesn't mean we don't have to stop using them. It just, we have to understand that it's not going to be as convenient as some of these new technologies allow. So, all right, look, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I'm sorry, I'm just chatting away here, babbling on. That was a great question. And of course, it got me off on a complete tangent. Yeah, it's a proper scare, isn't it, Idle Flower? It really is. Does Baz have Detective Conan case closed as manga? No, he doesn't. Recommend I Am Legend. That was great, wasn't it? I loved it. I have read I Am Legend, actually. Yeah, the red LED ones, LOL, Texas Instruments. Oh my God, remember that? That was the calculator, right? Imagine a chronic spoken word plagiarizer where people starting writing stuff down, they were probably livid. Salem's Lot gets even better if you read the Dark Tower series. Really? Okay, all right, good. I like the sound of that. Nightbot's throwing out the Tech Bandits Discord. Sweet. Could that be because Cal is here? If you are Cal, thank you very much. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Education where I live in North Wales is good. My eldest boy has help with his autism. And I had help when I was in high school myself with learning disabilities and dyslexia. Good, Papa Smee. That's good to hear. I mean, look, and again, I think the education system here is pretty good as well, certainly for supporting kids in many ways. But as always, things can be better. Like my fabulous friend Andrew said at my wedding, David is the best complainer. And the reason why I'm such a good complainer is because I want to fix things. I want things to be perfect, or want things to be better. And I just feel like that a lot of the issues that we're having, even with AI and stuff, would be solved if we could just harness that curiosity and maintain it throughout our lives and as lifelong learners. I just think that'd be just amazing, because I think we could do some amazing things, you know. And it doesn't mean everyone has to be a freaking genius. It just means that they have to be interested in what they do, and or at least interested in something, some aspect of their life. The idea of living without a passion of some sort just seems so empty and horrible to me. Even if it's just, you know, it could be knitting, for God's sake. It could be model train sets, or it doesn't have to be, you know, sciencey science stuff. It could just be art for art's sake, you know. And I think that's something that AI is never going to take away from us. Oh, great. It could do art now. So perfect. I've got more time to do laundry. I mean, that's just not the way we're going to operate. We don't do art just because we want to make money doing it, or that it, you know, we make art because we have no choice in many cases. It's what we do. We make things. We're makers. We're instinctively makers. So I'm not unaware that there are problems, and I don't want to be too Pollyanna about it. But at the same time, I have a lot of hope that we're going to see some amazing things come out of it. I really do. So, all right, is this really live? It is, Michael Cosi. It's really live. Oh my God, it's a conspiracy. It's not really. I'm actually a lizard. What do we got here? Get pigeons. Yeah, get pigeons. The book Stephen King wrote with Peter Straub are pretty good too. Yeah, I mean, look, believe me, there's plenty of Stephen King books that I'm never going to get to because there's just too bloody many of them. But I wanted a classic old one. It's very funny, by the way, how sort of racist, sexist, and homophobic these books are, as well. Just the subtle sort of, not so subtle sometimes, but the systemic, the 80s perspective on all of those areas is not necessarily the most amazing. I mean, that's, of course, it's just his characters. I don't know what Stephen King's take on this stuff is, but certainly the characters he wrote have these wonderfully, wildly inappropriate comments on things when you look back at them, right now. So yay, lizards. They're okay. There are AI wars going on now. Corporations are risking the top to be number one, ignoring the dangers AI could have over the human race to gain a profit. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think there's, but I don't fear AI. I fear people over AI for sure. I'm much more worried about the humans in the mix than I am the AI in the mix. And if you want to look at AI or similar AI adjacent technologies, algorithms have basically torn us to pieces. Algorithms have turned us into all warring factions, because the algorithm for social media is fed by distrust, is fed by hatred, is fed by outrage and anger. We told an AI we wanted it to figure out how to keep people on the social media platform. We're, innocently or not, we're thinking let's optimize our system so that it's perfect, so it's got everything that everyone needs, everyone's happy all the time, all that kind of stuff. But we didn't write happy. We just wrote an algorithm that keeps people on a platform. And unfortunately, it did exactly what we asked it to. And I think that's what people worry about. And that's what people are scared of. I don't think people are scared of AI. I think they're scared of what we're going to put into AI. And that is always an issue. Definitely watch. Oh my God. I mean, sorry, this is depressing homework for you all, but definitely watch The House of Dynamite, because this isn't an AI thing. Though, I mean, I did find myself thinking about AI in it. But definitely have a look at that, because what it did do was go yeah, we kind of want to be careful about the people who we put in the White House, because they've kind of got a lot of power when it comes down to it. So anyways, have a look at that. What else have I got to tell you? There's a new Damn Dirty Abe's came out yesterday. If you didn't catch that, head on over to Damn Dirty Abe's on YouTube. We've got our own channel there now, so that Lance can stream whenever he wants. Doesn't have to wait for stinky old Abe's like me. I'll talk to you all soon. Thank you so much. I will say, until we geek again, be brave, be kind, be brilliant, cheerio, and huzzah! Who's on the bed? Wretched dog. And head over to techbandits.org. Techbandits.org. Head on over there. There's links to the merch. I've got some Stargate inspired merch and some anti-AI merch. This is like this little. I've been doing these little. Where is it? You can't really see the logo here, but it's I've done these little organic intelligence logos that I quite like. The idea that, it doesn't matter how much AI there is, it still needs to be an organic intelligence behind it to some extent. So yeah, go check out techbandits.org. And I also have a Tech Bandits Patreon if you want to check that out as well. That'd be amazing. In fact, that reminds me, I've got to put that link on the website because I've been sending everyone to the website and there's actually no link to the Patreon. Well done, David. And then, of course, the Discord, which you've seen it here as well. Okay, I'm getting out of here. Bye, everybody. I don't know why you do this. I don't know why you're here, but thank you. I thoroughly